Hello guys, today in this video we are going to talk about the poem The Pulley composed by George Herbert. First of all, introduction to the poet. George Herbert was a Cavalier poet. The Cavalier poets followed Ben Jonson in the main. Donne's influence was strong in the divines. Herbert was one of them. Among the devout poets, George Herbert was most influenced by John Donne. George Herbert, brother of Lord Herbert of Canterbury, was born in 1593. He died in 1633. George Herbert, a clergyman and a poet, had great reputation for scholarship. His poems are deeply religious. He wrote some of his poems on pages in such shapes as suggested altars, crosses, and other symbols. The poems are remarkable for their colloquial diction and rhythms. They are, however, not so simple as they appear to be. Herbert's conceits are the products of fancy, not of passion and imagination. Guys, now introduction to the poem. The poem has an alternative title, The Pulley. A pulley is a mechanical device for lifting weights with a downward application of force. By calling his poem The Pulley, the poet wishes to suggest that God uses a similar device. He weighed him down with weariness of all his earthly joys. He does so for raising man spiritually. So, the pulley is that mechanical device which draws man up to God. If rest of contentment had not been denied to him when God bestowed all other blessings on him, man's material satisfactions would have kept him from rising above them to God, the giver of these blessings. The poem may be compared and contrasted with Swinburne's poem Before the Beginning of Years, which occurs as a chorus in his poetic play Claydon. In this lyric, Swinburne suggests that the God created man with loathing and love, with weeping and laughter. The poem suggests by implication that man's happiness depends on contentment. Now, guys, summary of the poem. God had an angel standing by him when he first made man. The angel had a glass full of blessings. God wanted to pour on man all the blessings within the short span of his life. He had out of all his treasure only rest, peace of mind, happiness, contentment remained lying in the bottom. He stopped. God said that if rest was given to man, he would lose man's love and worship, and man would miss the supreme joy of fighting God. So both would be losers. So God did not give man the gift of rest and contentment. God had a God had a special purpose in keeping away rest or contentment from God. With contentment, man will grumble in spite of possessing all the riches. This will be ultimately good for him. This contentment, even while having all the pleasure and joys of the world, will make man a devotee of God. Guys, this is the introduction to the poet, introduction to the poem, and summary. Now, let us explain whole poem. So, guys, let us start. When God at first made man, having a glass of blessing standing by, let us, said he, pour on him all we can. Let the world's riches, which dispersed lie, contract into a span. Guys, in these lines, the poet says that God first made man. He wanted to give all his gifts to him. An angel stood near him with a glass full of blessings. God wanted to pour on man as many blessings as he could. God said to him, the blessing which this glass contains are not to be found anywhere in this universe at one particular place. They are to be found scattered in the different parts of the world. Let me bestow these blessings on one single creature, man, so that they can be availed by him in the course of his brief life on the earth. In man, these blessings will be concentrated for his use. The word span means the brief period of human existence on the earth. It is also means a small space. So, guys, in the God is always kind. The poet wants to say it. He has a purpose behind all that he does. A true devotee of God should not question God's ways to man. God rest from man so that withheld rest from man so that if man would not pray to him by his goodness, he would pray to him in the troubles and weariness. Now, guys, next stanza. So strength first made a way, then beauty followed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. When almost all was out, God made us stay, perceiving that alone of all his treasure rest in the bottom lay. Guys, in these lines, the poet is saying that having blessed man with the world's riches, God decides to add more to it so that man would not in any way be wanting in other things. Thus, he continues by giving man strength, then beauty followed, then wisdom, honor, pleasure. With all these, God feels man would appreciate his benevolence and worship him, perceiving that man would be rebellious if he makes at man's disposal his treasure. God conceives a plan to tame man's excesses or treachery to retain his elegance. As a result, God withholds a particular precious gift of all his treasure that would serve a pulley to draw man close to himself. God lays at the bottom rest which would pull the creation to his creator. In other words, he makes man depend on him for survival. So, without God, man is nothing. Guys, now stanza number third. For if I should, said he, bestow his jewel also on my creature, he would adore my gifts instead of me and rest in nature, not the God of nature. So both should losers be. Uh, as the conversation continues in this stanza, God says if he gives man these jewels, this jewel, man would become disloyal and adore those precious gifts he has bestowed upon humanity instead of him, the giver. If that particular divine gift is not resting, man would rest in nature, not the God of nature. God will be without worship, and man also will lose the pleasure of worshipping. The In order not to lose on both ends, God withholds rest or pull man to himself when man has become too heavily drenched in the glass of blessings poured on him. Guys, next stanza. Yet let him keep the rest, but keep them with repining restlessness. But let him be rich and weary, that at least if goodness led him not, yet weariness may toss him to my breast. Guys, in these lines, the poet thus suggests that in not giving the gift of rest and contentment, God's purpose was the good of man. Man would have become godless if God had given him the gift of contentment. So, after giving man all the other gifts, God decided to withhold the gift of rest and contentment. God gave man strength, beauty, wisdom, honor, pleasure, but no rest. God decided that man should be given all the other gifts but no rest. Without happy contentment, man will grumble in spite of possessing all the other gifts. This will be ultimately good for man. If man's goodness fail to draw man towards him, dissatisfaction with the world's goods and joys will ultimately lead man towards God. If man would not pray to God by his goodness, he would pray to him in his troubles and weariness. There is a Hindi couplet: if you remember God when you are happy, you will not be unhappy. Guys, here the rest, here it means the remainder, the other gifts. So, guys, this is a very beautiful and religious poem. You must read it, and I hope you will like it. Thank you.